Hey everyone, John from ARTV. It is time for a review of the fourth studio album by Everything Everything. It's called A Fever Dream, and it's the follow-up to 2015's amazing record, Get to Heaven. If you want to know my thoughts on that other than I love it, you should check out my year-end list from the past year or two. I had a song and obviously the album itself making my list, so I definitely was in favor of that, wanting to hear more from this band. I went back, loved ARC and even their debut record, and was very excited to know that they were putting out new music into the world. And lead singer Jonathan Higgs seemed like he was going through some writer blocks, but also channeled that into what he was writing for this record. And once again, we get something that is politically charged, but at the same time, it focuses on introspection at times, and it touches on a lot of different themes. And I'm excited about this record because while not quite as great as Get to Heaven in my opinion, it still comes out of the gate firing, whether it be on political spectrums or on personal. Everything have a sound that might not be for everyone. There's a lot of falsetto vocals, some rapid guitar licks that work their way around some electronics, synthesizers, and kind of sporadic and spazzy drums. And I love the sound personally, but like I said, especially in the vocal department, I get it. If it's not your thing, it can be grating. Trust me, I understand. I'm not always in the mood, but whenever I am, I can see that they're mostly firing on all cylinders, and I love what they're talking about on this album. Brexit is obviously something that's happened in the UK since the last time that Everything put a record out into the world, so that was another inspiration for this new album, A Fever Dream, and I love how they come out kind of swinging right from the first track, Night of the Long Knives. Now, if you're not familiar with the phrase, I had to Google it to make sure myself, but it actually is referring to that event that occurred during the 1930s. Hitler was in power and he was killing off enemies in the middle of the night. That's what that refers to. And I like how they're able to update that. Higgs is always very kind of smart, but also very catchy, and here, this time around, childish on purpose, as he says, with his lyrics, as he was talking to Annie Mac, saying that because look who's in power right now. We have people like Donald Trump actually in power, and they're people who don't care about the good of the world, they care about furthering their own agendas, and that is a lyrical topic that I actually really just love seeing it playing out here on this album. The title track, A Fever Dream, is a great example of that. I love how he uses the repetition to build it up, and like I said, a lot of these songs are oddly catchy and striking, even the opening moment, and especially Can't Do. While that one's not really politically based, it's something where he used his writer's block as an aid because they had the melody of the song, which is catchy as hell, those knocking synths, and obviously the vocals on this I find extremely appealing. One of my favorite songs of the year. Can't stop listening to it. It's irresistible. And like I said, while this isn't necessarily with the theme of the record in terms of its politics and that sort of thing, I love that they're able to keep it in the theme of the record musically. They do a really good job of rotating between some of the slower songs and some of the more fast-paced and in-your-face moments, like Put Me Together. It's such a gorgeous and beautiful track that focuses on the human element, something where they're talking about, you know, the hating the neighbors, and they're not talking about neighbors as in the person next door. They're talking about people hating other people who are in their country, like we've seen recently in America, obviously white supremacists coming up saying, get out of my country, to Muslims, even to black people, Hispanics, and that sort of thing. And it's disgusting, intolerant. And they're seeing that in the UK as well, with Syrian refugees and all these other things. And obviously, this is something that Higgs is outraged by, the rest of the band as well. And I love how they're able to really chide people in kind of a sarcastic tone, but at the same time, screaming out how important this is. I always find it funny whenever people tell me to stay in my lane and to stop talking about politics or my hatred or distaste for a certain individual. But whenever we have someone so repugnant like Trump here in the US, and obviously whatever they're dealing with May over there in the UK, you can't help but speak out against it. It's just like if you stand idly by, then you are part of the problem. And here, I love track number 6, Run the Numbers, because this screams Donald J. Trump, him running his mouth with nothing to back it up. A certain chart, a certain graph, man, fuck you. You're saying run the numbers, you know, you don't have to. I don't have to run the numbers. And they're mocking that on this track. And I love it. It's so catchy. And you want to sing along, but once you actually pay attention to the lyrical content there, you realize how smart and important a tune like this is. I'm not as huge on some of the moments like Big Game that just take a little bit to build up. And while I understand the importance of some of the lyrics, they just feel a bit misplaced. And I could say the same thing for Desire. It's kind of catchy with its vocals, and I can kind of of snap my fingers, nod my head along to it, but it doesn't strike me as relevant or as important as some of these other moments that really shine and stand out to me. Even New Deep that comes near the end, kind of a transitory track going to White Whale right after Ivory Tower, it just doesn't make itself bold, and even though it is nice and very pleasant on the eardrums, I can imagine this being more of a night drive type song and not one that you would really come back to. And I think it was meant for obviously the context of the record. It's just that even that, I think it's more of like a mood type song, and the ones that surround it definitely shine a lot brighter. And one of those obviously being Ivory Tower. And I am a huge fan of this track. Once again, it's something that's talking about basically the online warriors, people who hide behind being anonymous. The fact that nobody can find me, nobody knows who I am, so I can say whatever the hell I want. So they say racial slurs, they bring people down, they shame people and that sort of thing. If you're gonna do it, at least have the balls to really remove the mask and say it to somebody's face. Or actually, better yet, don't ever say it. Don't be a shitty person. I love the vocal melody and cadence on Ivory Tower as well. I'm in my ivory, ivory, ivory. And it's just something that you want to repeat over and over again. And then we get to the closing track that I did want to briefly mention, White Whale. It's one where it seems like he's talking about love and how it always gets away from him, like Moby Dick did from Captain Ahab. A big fan of that book myself, honestly, and I did pick up on the reference there. And it's something that I enjoy as a song. Without context, I suppose it could be a nice one-off track, but as a closer to the album, I just don't feel like it's completing things for me. Overall, I definitely do not have many complaints with this Everything Everything record. I'm very pleased, and I think that it's another bold statement for this band, this group who aren't afraid to get political or even personal, and then add in a lot of either pop or else indie, electronic, alternative flair. They're coming at it and hitting it from all angles, but still being very, very creative. I think this is a well fleshed out record, and I am going to give it a 4 out of 5. Thanks so much for watching my Everything Everything review. I know they're not a much buzzed about band in the US, but hopefully you still clicked on the review anyways. I'm sure not as many people did, but that's okay. I like talking about records that I'm passionate about or else I have a strong opinion on, and I do want to get back to doing some more album reviews and that sort of thing as I feel passionate about them. If you're able to, help out ARTV and my second channel Beyond ARTV by donating on Patreon on a monthly basis. I never know if I have ads on my videos anymore. It's like I'm ad friendly or not ad friendly. YouTube can never decide. So if you're able to pledge on a monthly basis, that would be awesome. And that second link down there is to TAD. It's something where all you have to do is watch a few ads every day if you want to, or as often as you want to. You can earn up to 500 TADs a day just by watching ads for me. And once you transfer that over to ARTV, that equals a 50-cent donation for every 500 TADs earned. Thank you so much to everybody who's been doing it so far. I want to give a few shout outs real quick. Thank you so much for watching and funding Jose, and also another thank you goes out to Amy Louise for supporting the channels, and also, oddly enough, considering as much as I talked about politics in this video, Marxist Dad. Hopefully that's not actually your political views. If so, then I denounce that. I do not support that. Yeah, I don't think that that is by checking out their Twitter profile, but it's 2017, and if I don't say that, then people will assume that I'm a Marxist supporter. Tap that annotation in the corner of the video if you'd like to go directly to my Patreon page. Tap right here if you want to see my Grizzly Bear review, another under-the-radar review that you might not have seen, or right over here for another recent video that I think you might like. Socials are in the description. Other than that, I'll see you very soon right here on ARTV.